Hard drinking, depressed, former CIA agent John Creasy had given up on life. Creasy starts to retrieve a small portion of his soul gradually before being hired as a bodyguard to watch over 9-year-old Pita Ramos. However, when Pita is abducted, when Creasy's raging fury eventually subsides, he embarks on a perilous rescue mission driven by retaliation and vows to do everything it takes to save her. In Mexico City, rich people are being abducted by criminal groups, who then demand extortion from their families in exchange for a large ransom. 18, a young man, is abducted while strolling through the downtown streets with his lover. As police detective Victor Fuentes comforts the family, human trafficker Daniel Sanchez calls 18's affluent father, expressing interest in 18's $10 million life insurance policy. After a dead drop orchestrated by the father and Fuentes, 18 is discovered alive and in his underwear next to a freeway overpass. In El Paso, Texas, U.S., near the Mexico border, former CIA agent John Creasy is riding in a cab to meet up with his old friend, Paul Rayburn, who is now the owner of an executive security firm and a former CIA operative, to check in on him and catch up. Mexican businessman Samuel Ramos talks about the kidnapping incident with his lawyer, Jordan Calfas, because it has persuaded Lisa, his wife, that their daughter Pita Ramos, 9, needs a bodyguard. Pita had a bodyguard until recently, but they had to let him go. Therefore it is hinted that Ramos is having financial difficulties, which may be the reason for his reluctance to do this. Reminding Ramos that he needs to employ a new bodyguard in order to renew the family's ransom insurance. Calfas suggests that he speak with Paul Rayburn, an executive security firm owner and former CIA operative. Rayburn suggests John Creasy, an old CIA comrade, to the family. Creasy needs a job, but he's not interested in being a bodyguard or even spending time with the child. Creasy's resume, which highlights a range of counterterrorism and counterinsurgency operations, impresses Ramos. Creasy admitted that he drinks alcohol, which could affect his coordination and reaction time if his top professional kidnaps his child. Still, he will do his best to fulfill his duty. At Ramos' house, he met his wife, Lisa Ramos, who is also American, and their daughter, Pita Ramos, whom he is tasked to protect. Creasy was first shown around the Ramos mansion by Pita Ramos before being taken to his assigned room. And Pita also showed him her former bodyguard's pet bird. The next day, while Creasy was studying the route to Pita's school, he was disturbed by the noise of the pet bird. He immediately released it. While driving Pita to school, he was irritated by her playfulness and the many questions she asked. When he picked her up later, during the journey, Creasy was again annoyed by Pita's behavior. Pita was offended by Creasy's statement that he was paid to protect her, not to be her friend. This led her to get out of the car and move to the back seat, which concerned Creasy. Creasy has been so exhausted by all the tragedy and death that he has turned to booze to help him cope. He even makes an attempt at suicide, but his gun misfires. He called Rayburn to confirm if the 9mm had a problem and if it had a bad primer. Rayburn explains this by pointing out that bullets often wind up in the hands of well-deserving targets, and always tells the truth. The following day, while on the way to school with Lisa, Creasy noticed a car following them. He borrowed a pencil from Pita to write down the plate number, unaware that Pita was doing this. Because of this, they almost got into an accident. Creasy watched Pita's swimming competition, but she was not successful. However, he gave her encouragement. Creasy finds himself opening up to the child, and his initial irritability gradually subsides. In their absence, he stands in for her parents, offering guidance and coaching her throughout her swim classes and tournaments. He helps her get over her dread of starting pistols and transforms it into a desire to move at the first sound. Pita performed her swimming well because of her readiness and practice, with the help of her trainer, and she won the competition. Pita presents Creasy with a picture of St. Jude, the patron saint of hopeless cases, claiming to have paid for it herself. On the way to the piano audition, Pita mentioned that she wrote down the plate number of the car that was following them the other day, and she had it in her notebook. Recently, after dropping her off, Creasy notices a suspicious vehicle driving past and 2 police cars obstructing the nearby street. When Pita exits the building and freezes, Creasy draws his firearm and discharges a shot into the air, similar to a starter pistol, startling her into running away. During the ensuing gun battle, 4 of the assailants are critically shot, together with 2 corrupt police officers. The battle leaves Creasy extremely injured and unconscious, permitting the surviving abductors to grab the child. The police chief publicly ridiculed Creasy while he lay unconscious in the hospital, claiming he killed the two police officers. The fact that the police officers were in uniform and operating squad cars when they were meant to be off-duty raises suspicions in the mind of journalist Mariana Guerrero.
Miguel Manzano, her federal ministerial police contact, asserts rather bluntly that the officers were dishonest. They agree to speak with Creasy after his recuperation.
Even though Calfas wants the police kept out of the negotiations for Pita's release because the deaths of the two cops make the kidnapping a police problem, Fuentes takes charge and reassures the family that there is a fair chance of Pita's safe return as long as they follow his advice. Shortly later, Pita is demanded by Sanchez in exchange for a $10 million dead drop ransom. Even though Ramos is told to go to the drop alone, Fuentes suggests against it and goes with Ramos. The drop goes horribly wrong, as the kidnappers are attacked, forcing Ramos and Fuentes to escape. An enraged Sanchez confesses that Ramos disregarded his orders, which led to the death of his nephew in the ambush. It is presumed that Pita is dead when he remarks that she is gone to them forever. After learning of Creasy's predicament, Rayburn assists Creasy in making his way to a safe home where he can heal from his wounds. When Creasy gets better, Miguel Manzano, federal ministerial police, asked if he recognized the people in the pictures. Rayburn helped Creasy stand up and they went to the site of the kidnapping incident. There, he saw the journalist, Mariana Garcia Guerrero, who was given an offer to cooperate. Creasy discovers, with the aid of Guerrero and Manzano, that the dishonest police officers are part of La Hermandad, a formidable criminal organization that translates to the Brotherhood. He goes back to Pita's house to get Pita's notebook and swears to Lisa that he will murder everybody who helped arrange the kidnapping or made money off of it. A number of Brotherhood members are abducted by Creasy, who then tortures them until they divulge the identities of all the participants in the kidnapping scheme. He goes to a club where one of the La Hermandad members is hiding out. There, he discovers that Fuentes is the mastermind behind the theft of the ransom drop money. He recovers an ATM card from one of the kidnappers and tortures and kills them as well. He unintentionally rescues an abducted child, and asks Guerrero to trace who is sending funds to the recovered card. He finds out that Fuentes would be driving through the city in a high-security convoy with Guerrero's assistance, using a hotel room as a makeshift sniper's nest. Creasy uses a rocket launcher to take out the armored cars that were following Fuentes' limo, then he goes down to the street to confront the remaining guards. Following a lengthy gunfight in which Creasy employed sophisticated guerrilla warfare techniques, Creasy pilfers the limousine and renders Fuentes out. Fuentes confesses after questioning that he planned so many of them in the past that he believed it would be simple money to ambush the dead drop. However, just $2.5 million, or 25% of the total ransom, were found in the bags that were stolen from the drop. Fuentes pleads for mercy, stating that he is merely an employed expert, much like Creasy. Disgusted, Creasy admits that while Fuentes was unconscious, he planted an explosive in his rectum, which is set to detonate in 5 minutes. While Creasy walks away, Fuentes spends the final moments of his life wailing until the explosive detonates, killing him. When Creasy tracks down another $2.5 million to Calfas, and goes to his house to confront him, he then discovers his severed head floating in a swimming pool. When he approaches Ramos, he acknowledges that he was in risk of becoming bankrupt, which is why Calfas proposed that they orchestrate Pita's kidnapping in order for him to get the insurance money.
Most of the arrangements had been arranged by Calfas, who reassured Ramos that Pita would only be spending a few hours in a safe house watching cartoons. Things took a bad turn once Fuentes became overly avaricious.
Ramos murdered Calfas, accusing him of being the cause. Creasy leaves a pistol on the table, the same one he used in his unsuccessful suicide attempt, along with a single bullet, reiterating Rayburn's earlier advice that bullets always find deserving targets and always tells the truth. Ramos takes the gun and ends his own life as Lisa and Creasy depart. While Creasy keeps chasing after Sanchez, Sanchez is being tracked electronically by Manzano's men.
As Guerrero gets ready to publish Sanchez's picture in the newspaper, a gang member attacks her on the way home and makes threats to murder her if she does. Nevertheless, the paper publishes it anyway and the headlines prints it, titling it Tiene voz el miedo, Fear Has a Voice. After finding out where Sanchez's brother Aurelio resides, Creasy gets entrance to Aurelio's apartment. Creasy sustains a chest wound from Aurelio, but he manages to pursue him. When Aurelio tries to flee in a VW bus, Creasy hurts him, causing him crashes into a large truck. Creasy escorts Aurelio back to his apartment while apprehending Reina, Sanchez's heavily pregnant wife. He abuses Aurelio and makes Reina page Sanchez, who then returns the call. Creasy plans to murder Sanchez, when admits that Pita is still alive. He promises to set her free in exchange for Creasy giving up and allowing Aurelio to live.
Creasy agreed, and to facilitate the transaction, he calls Lisa, and drives her to a secluded rural location. Creasy handed the shotgun to Lisa and ordered her that if anything bad happened, she should make sure to kill Aurelio. Then, Creasy walked slowly towards the kidnappers. Pita was extremely delighted as she ran towards Creasy, and hugged him tightly. Following Pita's sprint to her mother, Aurelio and Creasy boarded the vehicle, and drive away. After succumbing to his gunshot wounds in the back seat, Creasy drops the St. Jude symbol that Pita had given him. An epilogue indicates that on that same day, Manzano assassinated Sanchez during a police raid. For more videos similar to this, don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications. Thank you for watching.